in the middle of the courts, there's a bench with like a little hut. We finished the game, and Aaron climbed up into the roof of the little hut, and Riki was not aware of this. And so Riki went over and sat down on the bench. And so she's like right below Aaron. And Aaron said, hello, in some strange way. And like, it got kind of like Riki freaked out. And so it lives on because like to this day, like sometimes we'll still say like, hello. And it invokes
Oh, that's so funny.
that memory.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Pickle Me This. Be sure to subscribe, comment, and like so you'll be notified when new episodes drop every Saturday morning. You definitely don't want to miss them. Also, your support helps other pickleball enthusiasts find us too. Everyone has a story.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pickle Me This, and I'm your host, Deirdre. And today I'm thrilled to welcome a special guest who has a unique pickleball journey and someone I've actually known before either of us really even understood what pickleball was all about. Matt started playing pickleball with his family back in 2017, long before the sport exploded in popularity. What began as a casual vacation discovery turned into a Friday night family tradition and eventually a significant part of his life. I remember when Matt and I worked together way back then, and he would tell us about this strange new game and post pictures on our internal Slack channel. And honestly, I just didn't even get the appeal back then. So fast forward today, which is kind of ironic, and I've become a pickleball convert myself. So with that, welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Deirdre. So nice to be with you.
Yeah, likewise. Matt and I, before we hit record, already caught up a little bit because I haven't seen him in a while. We used to be coworkers, so that was lovely. So
Yes,
good to
nice
see
to be
you.
reunited.
Yes, nice to be reunited. I think a good place to start is tell us about the first time you encountered pickleball. What was going on in your life at that time, and what caught your attention during that family trip?
Yeah, so we live in northern Utah, and we would escape to southern Utah where the weather's much warmer. And so spring breaks in March, April, we'd head south. And one of those visits in 2017, we recall like sitting out on our balcony, and we had this view of the tennis courts, but we saw these people playing a very strange game that we'd never seen before that seemed like a cross between tennis and ping pong. So we were intrigued because we had a view from where we were, and it was looked interesting. So we watched this go on for a day or so, and finally we went to the clubhouse for this condo community where we were staying, and they had paddles that you could borrow. And I should just point out that the four of us, being my wife and our two daughters, age 15 and 17, just kind of understand where they were at in their journey of life. So the four of us started playing with basically zero knowledge of the rules of pickleball, and just started basically playing tennis on a pickleball court.
I love that. I smile when you said ping pong because it brings me back to when I was a kid. We used to play ping pong all the time. We used to put a net on our kitchen table and play. And I don't know that we actually really knew real rules anyway, but I liken it to explaining pickleball sometimes to people as I feel like I'm playing ping pong standing up, like on top of the table. I don't know. That's how I describe it sometimes.
I see it. Yep.
What was your initial reaction when you first tried playing that game?
My first reaction was that it was fun. It was pretty easy to pick up. It was a small court that is a good equalizer. Yeah, we just had a great time. And it went from borrowing those paddles probably like on the second day of our trip to us playing every day for the rest of the trip. But yeah, I think it took us a couple of years before we really fully understood what the rules were as it related to the kitchen.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules there. I remember my first introduction to the sport too. I thought to myself, oh, this is for older people. I just thought it was like kind of like tennis and on a smaller court to make it easier for people to play. But that's not true.
Right. It is true as far as that's how it's thought of by most people. And I think really the origins of it were, my understanding is that a family discovered it, but it seemed like the adaptation was in older communities. Where we go in Southern Utah is known for being a large retirement community. So
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why they had pickleball courts when we had never even heard of it or seen anything like it up in northern Utah.
Yeah, and it originated out on the West Coast in Seattle. What made you excited about it enough to share it with us coworkers at the time?
Well, we worked at a place that had a very warm, personable culture where it wasn't just all work. We were interested in each other's lives and got to know each other out on a personal level. And so whenever we'd have team meetings, there's always some like chit chat, either in the beginning or at the end. So, yeah, how was your weekend or what have you been up to? And certainly coming back from one of our trips, I was going to be pretty excited to share my new discovery about this game called Pickleball. As we came back from playing that first time, we bought a set of 4 cheap paddles from Amazon, and it really turned into an activity that we did as a family. It was kind of like a Friday night thing that we would do. And so again, coming back to work, oftentimes we had our Monday team meetings that we were in together. It's like, hey, what'd you do over the weekend? It's like, we played pickleball. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. I remember the picture actually of the court that you shared. And I remember poo-pooing it. And I think it goes back to the older part. And it's totally wrong, right, for me to get that impression. But I think that's what I thought. And likewise, the same thing about sourdough bread. Do you remember the little sourdough bread craze, Matt, at work? Yeah. Everybody started getting into it. I think it was over COVID. And I wasn't much of a bread eater. And it's the same thing. I did the same thing. I was like, I'm not really interested in that. And then look at me. I'm a pickleball and sourdough person now. It's just really kind of ironic.
Serves you right. Serves you right, Deirdre.
Serves me right. I don't know how that happened. But let's go back to your I love that it brought your family together. Of the 4 of you, I'm curious, who was the most excited? Like, who was the one that started the Friday night tradition? Or did all of you equally like it?
I think we all equally liked it, but I'd say as probably most things in our family, my wife, Riki, is the catalyst for a lot of our activities. And so I'm quite certain she was the one that got this Friday night tradition going. And, I think the way it came about was it was just, end of the work week, end of the school week. And, we were all just kind of ready and excited to enter into the weekend and do something.
And you had the perfect number of people. You had 4 people.
Right, exactly.
During those early games, when you first started playing them, how did you make up your own rules?
We approached it like we were playing tennis. I never really was a tennis player, and neither was Riki, but our one daughter actually played a lot of tennis. We kind of approached it like we were playing tennis, as far as like the way we lined up on the court. A lot of times you'd have, one person up, one person back. And we also didn't really understand the scoring.
The scoring's so hard.
So
it's weird.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes we would accidentally do it properly. And so Riki and our youngest daughter Erin went out one night to play, and this couple was there, and they said, "Hey, you want to play doubles?" And they said, "Sure." Well, they started playing, and it almost felt like they were playing 2 different games.
Wow.
And how this couple was approaching the game was just so foreign to how we had been playing it, i.e. tennis. And they were doing the dinking and just like using all this, all these like strategic nuances for, trying to set you up for like the next shot type of deal. And well, Riki and Erin got clobbered. So that was humbling. And but it was a very nice couple that then went on to explain to them a lot of these nuances of the game.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it turned out, Riki found out after the fact that the woman actually is an instructor.
Oh.
So it was actually quite serendipitous, really. Combination of getting some questions answered to some of the ways to properly score the game and what to deal with the kitchen. So got all those questions answered, but also we're exposed to this a whole new different way of playing.
Right.
So
yeah, it actually reminds me of when I first started playing, because I'm kind of like you. I'd started with a few of my friends, and we'd all go out there. And the one friend actually knew the rules, so she would tell us like how to score and stuff. But I would say we probably played more like you, like more longer hits. We didn't really go to the kitchen very often. We definitely didn't dink. That's for sure. And then,
how about the third shot drop? I'm sure you were.
Oh gosh, no. But we would see, because we would play it on dedicated courts that were pretty busy. We would see other people playing and rushing to the kitchen, rightfully so, and dinking. And I think my first memory when I first saw the dinking is like, why are they doing that? I thought that was more like a warm up. It just seemed too simple to me. But then when you actually play, when you start dinking for the first time, it's not so simple.
Right.
There's definitely a strategy to it, which is, I think, what I really love about the game too, the strategic aspect.
Yeah. Yep. That's very true. And we found it interesting that by this point, we've been playing the game for probably at least 2 years, if not 3 years. And it just shows how early days this really was, because whenever we would go to play, like those Friday nights, we never had any issue getting a court. This was a park with 2 tennis courts, and one of the tennis courts basically was, had the lines for playing pickleball. And so we never had any problem getting one of those 2 courts. That would never happen today, for one. And certainly, whenever anybody else was playing, we never really saw them playing with the dinking style and, the other aspects of the game that I've since come to learn. They weren't really evident then either.
Right.
So yeah, early days.
Yeah. Even when I started playing, probably it's been 3 years now, the courts were less busy. So when you and I talked about scheduling this podcast, you had mentioned that your wife, Riki, started learning how to play the game, but you were resistant at first. So tell us about that journey.
So call it stubbornness, call it what you want. But I then started seeing some people playing with the dinking style. And so watching that, it just looked kind of boring to me and like not fun. I was enjoying the slam fest, stand back there and wind up. And so it just really didn't look all that appealing. And I'm sure there's just a little bit of that natural element of being resistant to change. But in the meantime, Riki started going all in on wanting to really learn how to play the game in all facets, learn proper technique. So she started attending a lot of clinics. And in the meantime, I was kind of on the sideline, not really playing all that much, because she started really playing more and more with people that she was meeting at these clinics. I should also mention that, both our girls were launched by this time. So it wasn't quite as easy for the family. So it was around that time really that a large extent of my playing was Riki would want to go out and drill. And so I'd go out with her sometimes for her to drill and for me to drill with her and learn. That's how things went on for a while, before I finally decided to get over myself.
You had mentioned dinking and drilling with Riki. When you were doing that, what did you think of that? Boring?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay. Still not all that fun, but interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't sold. Like,
yeah. It was about probably like a year and a half ago. I went to visit a friend of mine who lives in Tampa. We used to be in Philly together years ago. We used to play tennis years ago together, but she became a big pickleball player. And her husband is a pickleball coach. So they play a lot. And I go to visit her and I bring my paddle, of course, and we go to play. And I'm all excited to show her how good I got. Things you're saying, like, bring back these memories for me. So again, I started slamming and definitely was not doing third shot drops at all yet. No. I could dink. I could hold my own with dinking, but it still wasn't part of my regular strategy. My strategy was really trying to bang it all. And at that point, I had no idea what my rating was. And since then, I played a couple of tournaments. So now I know. But I remember saying, oh, don't you think, I think I even said, don't you think I got good? And her husband even came and played us. And he was he's really good, very strategic, I was very impressed with him. And then later went back to their house. I stayed with them. And she's like, no. You're not gonna proceed at all until you start dropping, until you start taking a whole lot more. And I was like, oh, it really, I don't know, that, her saying that really set in for me that I really needed to change my game.
It's a wake-up call you needed.
It really was. And I was like, oh, this banging is not good enough. And now when I get into games with other people and they start banging, I'm like, can we just slow it down? So I'm always trying to reset into the kitchen to kind of slow it down. It is kind of funny how you evolve in the game, the evolution of the game for us and others. When did you realize that you actually liked this other style of playing pickleball?
Finally, in summer of 2022, I joined Riki at a couple clinics. Yeah, I got much deeper exposure into a lot of these finer nuances.
Did she want you to go, or did you ask to go?
She asked me if I wanted to go. Yeah, she didn't, strong arm me or anything to go, but she asked me, and it's worth mentioning that I think a lot of Riki's really getting into it also coincided with COVID, which I think is kind of a common story that you hear from a lot of people that started playing. I was a little bit slower with that, but I think finally by that time frame in summer 2022, I decided that I needed to get out more and be exposed to more people, and so I thought I was gonna give it a shot as far as learning more about pickleball and maybe start playing more frequently with at a drop-in level and such.
Right.
So did a few clinics, and I still ended up not really going all in on it. And it wasn't until probably around early 2023, Riki and one of her close pickleball friends recruited me and the other woman's husband for the four of us to play. And he and I were sort of in similar places, especially I haven't played a whole lot with the more nuanced way of playing. And we were very compatible. We had very competitive games. And the two women were giving us some tips and really trying to force the dinking type of play. And so that was really the eye-opening where I came out of that thinking, this was really fun.
Yeah.
These people were awesome. I really enjoyed playing with them. And so that was really when I started enjoying pickleball in a new way and kind of rediscovered it. We would typically play once a week together, the four of us. And that was basically about the extent of my play. As we moved into summer and started playing outdoors, that just made it that much nicer. And in part because there's two primary parks where people play pickleball here, both of which have just beautiful views of the mountain range.
Oh.
So the fresh air, being outside and having that panoramic view of the mountains alone is definitely
beautiful.
It's definitely very nice and rejuvenating. So that summer that I started playing two or three times a week, and I started being invited in with other groups. And so
you made the cut, Matt.
I made the cut. I was being accepted in the pickleball community. That's when I started occasionally doing drop-ins. So a little uncomfortable with drop-ins for different reasons, but you may be shocked to hear this, Deirdre, but I'm actually a pretty strong introvert at heart. And so
really?
Yes, shocking, right? So much more comfortable, like going with a group of 4 or a group of 8 somewhere and playing with that group.
I
But
think a lot of people feel like that, especially in the beginning, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, because I think a lot of people want to feel comfortable with the people that they're playing with. They don't want to look like the bad person or disappoint other people or whatever. Part of the game that I like is the community aspect and the chatting with people and getting to know them. So even though you're an introvert, Matt, like you are a very friendly, like to chat with people too once you get to know them. But I know it's hard. It's hard in the beginning, especially with strangers.
Yeah.
How has pickleball really influenced your relationship with Riki, your wife?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we do enjoy being able to do together. It's helped us make new social connections and new friendships.
Like, what was the family dynamic then when she was playing more than you versus how it changed when you started playing more too?
What's interesting today is obviously we've had very different journeys to where how we've gotten to the point that we're at now. And she's kind of very clinical, very cerebral about the game and how she approaches it and technical. Whereas even still today, I've learned a lot, but I still play a little bit more of a freelance or freestyle. And so when we do play together, yeah, I still will get the, hey, you should have been up there. You know, it's like I still will get those types of comments.
That was your ball, Matt.
Yeah. What's sort of funny is that I oftentimes rely more on instinct and some of the natural athletic abilities I have in my game. So I rely more on those, and like we're kind of now at the same place as far as we play at similar levels, but how we got there and how we play is very different.
Right.
Sometimes, and she would tell you this, sometimes she gets frustrated by how well I will play sometimes, having not played as much as her and not gone to as many clinics. Yeah. Now, that's not always the case. Like I find myself to be a bit streaky. Sometimes I play really well and sometimes I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the game is very addictive. It can become very addictive once you get hooked, right? And when you get addicted, you always want to play pickleball. So sometimes other things fall off the wayside for now because you want to go. So forget about the yard work. Forget about, I don't know, a birthday party with some friends of friends. Like you just forget all of that. Did you have any of that balancing when each of you were at a different place in your pickleball journeys?
You know, I honestly don't think we did.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was actually like really happy for Riki when she got to the point where she was playing 3-4 times a week, maybe 5 times sometimes, but you know, she was playing a lot. So I was actually happy for her and glad for her because she needed that void from COVID. You know, she needed that. And she's actually much more extroverted than me. And so she needs that human interaction.
Yeah.
It's really important to her. And so I was happy that she had that outlet.
Oh, that's good.
And so yeah. But at the same time, it's like not like she was like shirking other duties and responsibilities or anything.
Not that I've ever done it.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a funny story about missing a dinner one night because of pickleball, but I just totally forgot about it. I don't forget about that kind of stuff. And I wasn't even going to tell this story during this episode, but again, like, I don't know, things you're saying are bringing up memories. So I was supposed to go to dinner with a friend. I go with her pretty often. We made plans. It was on my calendar, Matt. I put everything on my calendar. And for some reason, I just flaked that afternoon. Just forgot. I went to the pickleball court and I just totally forgot about it. And I'm playing. And when I go to the pickleball court too, I just put my phone away. So my phone's blowing up. I literally had no idea. So what happened, my friend came to my house to pick me up. I wasn't here. And my kids are all launched as well. So She came here. She couldn't find me. She has my kids' phone numbers. So she messaged my one daughter. She's like, where's your mom? And she's like, I don't know. So they're all trying to call me. They don't know where I am. And then they all start panicking because it's so not like me to just disappear. So they're all freaking out. They're trying to find me. So not suddenly, it was probably 40 minutes after I was supposed to be picked up that my friend shows up at the courts I play at. So she shows up and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? And then I was just seeing her. I'm like, oh, forgot all about dinner. So then she's like, you're not answering your phone. I pick up my phone, Matt, I swear to you, I am not kidding. There was like 30 messages. My two daughters, who are in their 20s, were like, what is wrong with you? Like, we are going to start tracking you. They're like, we want to start sharing locations. It's so funny coming from your children because it's something a parent would do to a kid. Yeah. And I said, fine. I'm like, if you guys are okay, because if I share location, they share locations. If you're okay sharing locations, that's fine by me. Yeah. So we've done that ever since. This is probably like, 9 months ago.
Okay.
But so funny. See, this is like happens with pickleball. You just get so distracted. It was so funny. It's actually funny, like laughing about it now. My kids didn't think it was so funny at the time, though.
Right, I'm sure.
Because there's like, oh, did she get a car accident? Is she okay? So funny. No, it's just playing pickleball. Yep. Talking about the family nights, you have any memorable moments or funny stories to share about playing with the family?
It was a long time ago. It seems like a long time ago anyway. So I don't have many vivid memories. Yeah, I've lots of memories of, lots of fist bumps and paddle taps and some trash talking and those, those types of things. Mm-hmm. But the one memory I do have, one night we were out playing, and where we were playing, I imagine your courts probably have this too. In the middle of the courts, there's a bench with like a little hut, basically a roof that you can sit under where you're in the shade. And so we finished the game, and Riki must have been preoccupied doing something. I'm not sure she was checking her phone or what, but Aaron climbed up into the roof of the little hut, and Riki was not aware of this. And so Riki went over and sat down on the bench. And so she was like right below Aaron. And Aaron said, hello, in some strange way. And like, it got kind of like Riki freaked out. And so it lives on because like to this day, like sometimes we'll still say like, hello. And it invokes
oh, that's so funny.
That memory. Yeah. So we had a good laugh from that.
So let's talk about pickleball mishaps. We talked about the funny story that you just shared. I like to say everybody loves hearing about embarrassing or fails on the courts because we all have been there. Any ones come to mind for you?
Oh yeah. And the reason why this one is locked and loaded, ready to go, is because it's an ongoing fail. And just talking about it, I'm starting to break out into a little bit of a sweat. Are you familiar with the YIPS, Deirdre?
The YIPS?
The YIPS are pretty common with athletes that have a unexplained loss of an ability to execute a skill.
Oh, yeah.
They've done for years. Well, my YIPS in pickleball are with serving. And I will get to a point where I might get like 1 out of every 3 serves in, which is just humiliating. And I feel so bad for my teammate. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the biggest reasons why I do not do drop in a whole lot is because I'm really reluctant of dropping in and getting paired up with these people I don't know. And
we don't want to let down our partners.
Yeah, exactly. Who's this who can't even get the serve in, So
is it because you put more pressure on yourself, do you think? Or
yeah, it happens once, and then it's just like, it's like starting to build up more pressure, and you're feeling more stress. And so yeah, it's like, it gets to the point where it's like, I don't want to serve. I don't want to serve. It's like some days I go and I'm doing fine, and other days I can't get my serve in. I just can't do it. And so I just recently have had a breakthrough where I think I got a routine. I know exactly what I need to do. Where the last 2 times I played now, I've not really had a case of the yips
I
return. So
love it.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
What'd you
No,
change?
um, so I experimented with dropping the ball and hitting on the bounce, holding the ball and not dropping it and hitting on the bounce. And so I've experimented with those, and I need to hold it a little bit lower, and I just need to watch the paddle actually go through the ball. I have to watch it go through the ball. So like, don't look up. And since I've started doing that, I'd say probably as consistent as people I'm playing
Heck
with.
yeah.
Where, you get the occasional one that you miss, but
Nice.
yeah.
I've noticed that if I am actively speaking while I serve, I will mess up the serve. So if I do that, I usually say to my partner, don't let me speak while I'm serving.
That's probably pretty hard for you, Deirdre.
I'm like, don't let me speak while I'm serving. 'Cause I do try to like make the game more lighthearted and laugh or chat a little bit. But sometimes a funny point or something humorous about the previous point, and we'll be still talking about it. And I'll serve because I don't like game delays. I just want to keep moving.
Yeah.
So we'll still be discussing, and I'll like go to serve and then out of bounds. And just like, oh, don't let me chit chat while I serve. Can't do two things at once. So speaking of pet peeves, what are your biggest pet peeves on the court?
Yeah, so I'll get the pet peeves. Just one other.
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
Fail. So I gave you kind of the really bad fail that haunts me like to this day in some ways. So the other fail that is very common for me, it's like almost every single time that I go out and play, I will have at least one whiff. You were like swing and just completely miss the ball.
Yep.
And then my natural instinct is I hold the paddle up, just like, is there a hole in the paddle?
What's wrong with this paddle?
Yeah. And then laugh and we continue on. So yeah, that happens more times than I would care to admit.
Yeah.
Now, as far as pet peeves, one thing you said triggered for me, you said you like to keep it lighthearted. A pet peeve for me is when I get paired up with someone that is super intense.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why are you even doing this? You're not having any fun, right? And so, like, I appreciate that there's some people that are competitive. I'm fairly competitive, but I can be competitive and also have fun.
Yes.
And laugh. Like if you smile, you feel happy. But I always just, I try to smile when I'm playing pickleball and help remind myself that, hey, I'm here to have fun. During one of Riki's clinics, an instructor said that if you're playing with people that are at a same skill level as you, you're going to probably win half the time and you're going to lose half the time. And so it shouldn't be all about the winning.
Right.
And so just as another reminder that you're there to have fun and you're going to lose some as long as you're like playing at your level, or maybe and sometimes it's fun to play up a little bit. It tends to bring out the best in your game, I think, when you do that on occasion.
I might have to steal that saying for people because there are some people who are very competitive and everybody does like to win. But just like I usually say, you can't win all the time. And we are out there to have fun.
Right.
So really competitive people are a little stressful for me too.
And I guess, the other pet peeve is people that, when they make a mistake, they can't let it go. And there's like a lot of negative self-talk. They like to, subscribe to the Ted Lasso theory of be a goldfish, just forget it, move on to the next point.
Yeah.
Some people struggle with that a little bit, and it can kind of wear you down when you hear them constantly berating themselves.
I like those. And those are very relatable to everybody, I think, who has played pickleball for sure.
Yeah.
How has pickleball introduced you to new friendships, and how has it changed your community around you?
Yeah, it definitely has. And it's really one of the aspects that I'm most grateful to the game for, really. You might recall how I said that one of my breakthrough moments was when Riki and one of her good friends recruited their husbands to join them, and the four of us started playing on a regular basis. Well, gentlemen and I, we now get together weekly for what we call our C&B, coffee and bagels. get-togethers, and it's actually grown from the two of us to there's now four that are getting together, and it's it's resulted in other friendships where we get together for dinner. We've gone to concerts, with our pickleball friends. And so it's been really lovely and important for me from a social outlet perspective. With my introverted ways, it's really done some good things for me as far as creating some new friendships and new contacts and being a part of a community.
Yeah, I think it's hard to make new friends as an adult and as an older adult too. I mean, as any adult,
especially.
So when you find something a commonality that you share, and then there's cool people around you, like-minded people around you, it's natural to start becoming good friends with them. I love the C&Bs.
Yep.
You have some pretty catchy phrases, Matt. I like it.
Well, we also refer to them as our therapy sessions because we also use them on occasion to just talk about world events and vent a little bit.
I love it. So do the other two that have joined you, the four, you all play pickleball together?
So we don't, but one of the newbies that have joined us for the C&Bs is learning it. So him and his wife are currently taking lessons.
I love it. It goes both ways, right? You find new friends because of pickleball, and you bring your old friends to pickleball, and you show them the sport. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had mentioned that Riki had an injury, and the pickleball community really surrounded her and supported you both. So tell us about how that transpired.
Yeah, so Riki was in an accident and sustained some different injuries. And one of those injuries was a concussion. And she dealt with pretty debilitating post-concussion symptoms that lasted for a long time. And she's still actually dealing with them to some degree, but they're much, much better. But there were several months where she could not play. So this community of pickleball friends that she made were pretty important to her recovery because when she reached a point that she was up to this and was able to socialize, she would actually go to the park and watch them play pickleball, just so she could be around them and in between games, or as you're waiting to get in, she'd have a chance to chat and catch up. So that was one thing that she did as part of that recovery process. And then they started doing weekly lunches, and there's probably about maybe 7 or 8 different women that would rotate in and out of those lunches as she was dealing with the concussion symptoms. It's pretty isolating.
Yeah.
And so it was really important that she was able to start getting back out amongst her friends. She always came back from those lunches a new person because, when you're dealing with something like that for months, it sometimes is hard to be positive. But she always came back from those lunches rejuvenated and in a much better mind space. And that community would call her a lot to see how she's doing. Some of them brought meals. And so, just a very caring environment. And they never let her feel like she was no longer part of it. They wanted to still have her feel like she was included as much as possible.
Oh, I love that. The community is really supportive, and it's really good to find your tribe of people around you like that. Yeah, I'm glad she's back playing now. Good. What's the most rewarding aspect of this pickleball journey for you, would you say?
I think really at the top of the list is the social aspect is the most rewarding, because I think that's ultimately what I needed the most. Because I'm like very active. I have different hobbies. I'm outdoors a lot. I'm physically active. So it's not like I necessarily needed like an exercise outlet of some sort, although I do love it for that too. But the most rewarding is really the friendships that have come out of it. And just having more of a feeling of belonging to a community here.
Yep. I feel like that's a common theme I hear from most people, for sure. The community is such a big aspect of it.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about pickleball now compared to when you started?
I enjoy with it being a much broader game than just slamming it, and there being so many different ways to try to attack your opponents. Mm-hmm. I just enjoy the new strategic elements that it brings.
It's kind of funny, Matt, though, the strategic element, because we worked at a company that was all about strategy.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's hard talking about this.
Yeah. And I mean, and like kind of an element that goes hand in hand with that is learning your opponents, right? And you figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are. Like, oh, this person struggles with the backhand a little bit. I'm going to send a lot of shots to their backhand, So that was one thing that I had overlooked as I went from having a very small pickleball community I played with to playing with more and more people.
Yes.
Is that, oh, okay. So I need to really pay attention and focus on, figuring out their game and what they like to do. What's their style?
Yeah. I find myself thinking a couple of shots ahead too. Do you do that? Like I'll hit a shot expecting the next shot to happen. So definitely more proactive play versus reactive play in the very beginning.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's a really good point.
If you could go back and give advice to yourself when you first picked up a paddle, what would you say?
I'd say get over yourself and put yourself out there and learn how to really play the game properly, and to embrace the game for all the elements that it brings that I wanted to push off for a while. Combination of don't be resistant to change and also put yourself out there to give yourself a chance to meet more people.
Yes. That's really what I like about pickleball, being able to get in there and meet other people and play with other people. And because the more people you play with and the different styles you play with, the more you learn and the better you get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, our final question to wrap things up. Is there anything about pickleball that still surprises you even after all these years?
The thing that surprises me is how pickleball is an activity where people of all ages and different genders can get together and play a game, a physical game that is fun and have competitive matches. Mm-hmm. And so people that we play with tend to range in age from about 30 to 80s. Say probably the community as a whole is generally 60 and up. And I just remember early days of playing people that are 20 years older than me. My one superpower on a pickleball court is I'm very, very fast and agile. I can move around very quick.
I can see that.
But I'm playing against people sometimes in their early 80s and they're kicking my butt.
Oh, yeah.
And I also take it as a good incentive to take care of yourself and take care of your body so that 20 years from now, I'm the 80-year-old that's humbling the people that are much younger than me.
You will be.
Right?
You will
That's
be.
the goal, but we'll see.
So fun chatting with you, Matt. I'm so glad you dropped in.
Likewise, Deirdre. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time when a new episode drops each Saturday. If you like this episode, be sure to leave us a like, and we'll see you out on the courts.